Hey, everyone. Welcome into a special edition of KC Sports Night here on a Thursday. Why is it special? Because Gabe Swartz is nowhere to be found. Where is he? This is his territory. He's sleeping on the job.
No, he's right over there.
Oh.
He's right over there complaining that I'm on.
That is not that Neal's here. No, we have the hardest working man in show business, Neal Jones. For the record, folks, that I'm not just saying that. This guy, he was at Platte County. He's at Chiefs games. He's at college games. He really is everywhere. It's quite impressive. And actually, Neal, this isn't in the rundown, but let's start there because I think Platte County deserves a mention at least because they were a heck of a football team. I shot him a couple times. You, the last time, got to see him in the state championship game. How about the Pirates?
They are as impressive a football team, a high school football team, as I've seen in terms of their scores.
Yeah.
And so I covered the game, and they won their championship game 49-14, and that's kind of the way they beat everybody. And
it was 28-0 after the first quarter.
Yeah, and it should have been 30. It should have been 35-0 at half, but they had a one possession where they had a couple holding penalties. They looked like the Chiefs in the red zone on that possession. But I started looking at the numbers, and they have just destroyed people this year. They have really just an impressive group. So I'm carrying all my equipment up by myself up the hill at 11 o'clock at night over at Columbia outside Furrow Field.
It was a cold night
in the parking lot. And there's a kid up there waiting for his mom and dad to pick him up, and he's wearing a Platte County Letterman's jacket, a big kid. And I said, "Are you with the team?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "God, congratulations. What a wonderful win. And did you guys know you were going to be this good?" He goes, "It's so funny you mentioned that because about halfway through the season, we're all like, are we that good or are we just playing bad competition? We think we're playing really good teams, but they're winning every game by 35 points, and their average margin of victory was 35 points.
No, I mean, that's what I kept saying. Their schedule wasn't anything great, but, man, it didn't matter, especially when Greg Daly was in the crowd. There's a couple times that I filmed some Platte County games that Greg was there pumping his fist. So shout out to the great fan support. I just wish it was a closer drive to K-5 or I would have shot more games. It's from where we're at here in Fairway. It's a bit of a trek, but they deserved the times for sure.
And yet you'll send me to Columbia, Missouri or Manhattan for an 8 o'clock game. Well, get back at 3 a.m. and then be out at the stadium the next day doing the Chiefs at 9 a.m. No problem, Neal. You can do that. But driving as far north as the airport is too much for Junior, and he's driving a company car, which means he doesn't even have to pay for the gas.
You know, listen, Northland love, you don't have to twist that out of me. Shout out Staley High School. I'll go to Liberty anytime. I'll go to Platte County. I went to Kearney, and they were Staley's rival there.
Kearney, these are all.
Kearney was in a snowfield on the day I was. When you were at the Mizzou game, I was in Platte County and Kearney.
Anytime you can go to Smithville or Kearney to cover a football game, you know that you're going to a community that really cares about its football. And I really enjoyed this. It's funny because I went over in the COVID year, 2020, and I covered Smithville playing for a state champ. Not Smithville, pardon me.
Platte County.
Platte County, and they got run. And Coach and I were laughing about that today. I said, I didn't even call to see if I could shoot the pregame speech. He goes, "No, I wasn't letting you anywhere near our locker room after the last time you did it. You were our jinx." So.
Yeah, well, this was a new, group of kids, same head coach. So, congrats to the Pirates. Also, congrats to St. Thomas Aquinas. Those were our two local winners this year. I thought it was a pretty good year of local high school football, but not as successful of a playoff run as we've had.
Gardner Edgerton won. You're leaving them out.
Yes, thank you. They won back to back. St. Thomas Aquinas won back to back. But there were some more upsets, I guess, in the Missouri side and Kansas 4A. Actually 3 is probably about average, but all deserving.
It's so funny because there were a couple of coaches who were not coaching in the championship game last Saturday over in Columbia who were telling me, "Who you covering?" And I go, "I'm covering Platte County." And they're like, "Well, we're rooting for them." And I go, "You are? Where are you from?" I coach XYZ, but we hate the Catholic schools out of Missouri, out of St. Louis, because they recruit all the players. And anytime a public school can beat a private school, you don't hear that as much. I don't hear that as much in Kansas anymore. Maybe
in 4A, Miege losing this year made a lot of people happy after they went.
Yeah, I will say that about Miege, but I don't hear that very much at Class 5A in Kansas with
it's true with
Aquinas because Mill Valley is a powerhouse, so they're not the. But I do think that there's a real dislike of the Catholic schools in Missouri over in St. Louis for whatever reason. I find their fan base to be a little bit like Rockhurst. They love their football. They support their football teams. They're really, really good. So covering Helias is the team that Platte County planted 49-14. But
out of Jeff City.
But there have been some other really good teams out of the St. Louis area in the state of Missouri Catholic schools.
CBC knocked out a really good Liberty North team a couple of years ago. Like a Liberty North team that I think would have won a lot of state titles. And the game wasn't even that close. It was one of the more down. That was Greg Jones last year, as head coach at Liberty North. That was tough to see. But that's why when you get these wins, you never Ray Peck won the state title there in 2020, Neil, and they haven't been the same since.
I got to cover that game. That was so much fun. You know what made that special? What I'll always remember is that because of the COVID pandemic, the students weren't really allowed to be together, and so they were all there outside in their student section with masks and stuff on, and they were having the best time. They made more noise because they were just excited to be together because so many of them had been kind of separated.
And that year had been
away.
So tough, and so they made the most out of their moment with quarterback like Conrad Holly. That's the thing when you get really good players, you want to make the most of it, like Platte County did with Rocco Marriott, who's a junior, and he started as a freshman. And then but it's nothing's guaranteed. Lee Summit North has been one of the best teams in the city. They never actually, won the last game. They had a couple chances. They're good enough to. Now Jamar Mosey, of course, is up at Nebraska. Great players, but they got upset in the last second to Nixa in the last 10 seconds in a game that they could have won. And so that's where when these kids have a chance to win it, Neil, it's a big deal when they actually do.
Yeah, you can't take it for granted because, as you said, Lee Summit North has had teams that were good enough to win a state championship for 5 or 6 years, and for various reasons, including the fact that they've had to play against some really good competition.
Yeah, Class 6, there's
Liberty
no shame
North
in losing. Class 6 is tough, but you're right.
But they haven't been. They weren't able to seal it. I know that's such a disappointment for so many of those families because they had great teams.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to talk. Marlia Campbell, they put it out that she's our new sports director.
Yeah, there you go.
And a number of people reached out to me and said, "Is this correct?" It is, and she posted on it. And the reason I bring it up is for all of you who hate me. She's who you complain to now. Don't complain to anybody else. Call Marlia. Yeah. She loves getting phone calls really late at night. Call her early in the morning, whenever you need to, whenever you want to complain about me. She's the person to call. Don't call the news desk anymore. It's not their fault.
Yeah, when you like something that we do, something that we put on air, something that we cover, that was Neil and I. All right, that was us conspiring together to go against Marlia. When we do something that doesn't work, well, that was all 100% Marlia's idea. Just for the record. Sarcasm. Marlia is great. Marlia is hardworking. We're happy.
But I have heard a lot of people have reached out. She just got named, I guess, yesterday, and so very excited for her.
Yeah.
She grew up in Kansas City, watching Channel 5. And going to
Which is a little skeptical because that would have been when Neil was still here. So it's
Yeah, I mean it was different. It was different. It's better.
I'm glad another Kansas City kid. I mean that's pretty cool, right, Neil? At this point, you're kind of like a Kansas City kid because you had two kids grow up as Kansas City kids. You've been here long enough.
Well, I covered the Big 8. So when I first got hired, there were people back in 1993. People like some outsider, and I go, well, I am kind of an outsider, but I'd lived here for a year. And I covered, I was at the Final Four when Kansas beat Oklahoma.
Sure.
Larry Brown and Danny Manning and the guys, Kevin Pritchard, their point guard. I had covered all of the major coaches. When I moved up here, I thought I was going to love Norm Stewart. I was going to love Roy Williams because he'd always been really nice to me when Kansas would come in and play at OU or OSU, whom I covered. And I was going to hate Norm. When I got up here, what I found was Roy was really difficult to work with, a wonderful person.
Sure.
But he was just hard to work with in the media because he was always like this. And Norm couldn't have been nicer. When I was sick with cancer, Norm is the one who called me up in the middle of the summer and said, hey, I just heard that you have cancer. How are you doing? Where are you going? I'm involved with Coaches Against. Of course, Coach, I know you helped start Coaches Against Cancer.
Great legacy.
And he took the time to call someone like me. And so I ended up loving Norm, and I hated to see him go out the way he did, but I felt very, very fortunate to have been able to cover him. And then
great teams at Mizzou.
So I've been around a long time. Even though I was not from here, I'm a lot smarter than you and Marlia, so that makes up for the fact that I wasn't born here.
And when you said that story, I remember Bill Self asking about you when they came back from advancing to the Final Four in 2022. when they came and raised the banner. So a newer example.
I think he was disappointed that I was still alive.
Yeah, okay. I would not go that far.
No. All the coaches have been great. I felt very lucky to cover all of them.
Yeah. Well, actually, Neil, since we'll talk a little Chiefs here coming up, but since we got a little taste of the border war, let's talk about that, because actually you and I have covered the last 4 border wars. You more than 4, but me, I did the Showdown for Relief. Remember when they played in Kansas City in 2017? And then the last 3 that were renewed, right, at Allen Fieldhouse 2 times and at Mizzou Arena. Neil, the first 3 renewed border war games, you and I made a big deal of, because we know how big a deal the rivalry is, but the games weren't that compelling. This one was.
No, this was unbelievable. I didn't see this coming. I have not seen any basketball on television. Mm-hmm. I had heard, had listened to some games on radio, but I hadn't seen any games. Look, let's face it. Until the Chiefs get done, we are football centric. Yeah, that's just the job.
Or at least college football. I think a lot of people are like that.
College football, and then the Chiefs as well. So it's just KU's been playing an NBA type schedule in that they played a lot of Friday night games this year for some reason. They played North Carolina on a Friday. What night was the Duke game?
I think a Tuesday.
So, and of course, obviously the game, and I listened to the Duke game. When I was in the car when they were playing.
Tough schedule.
That was a great game. But the bottom line is I won't get a chance to see these teams. I'm thrilled for the rivalry's sake to see Missouri give them a game and win it.
Yeah.
That's good for the rivalry. The thing that I hated about the SEC move was not about it was about one thing. I think that the rivalries in sports matter. I understand why they made the move, but they have not had a rival in football or basketball, not the men's side. I don't know about the women's side.
Not at the level of KU.
Well, not in the level of anybody. There's nobody that hates them more than anybody else. You go to Arkansas, they don't hate Missouri the most. But I'm going to tell you something. Eli Drinkwitz has made so many people mad in the league.
Right.
Fans in Arkansas. Of course, he's from Arkansas. They hate him. A lot of them hate him down there. I do radio down there, and they don't like him. And all these schools are starting. Oklahoma fans are mad at him. That is how you get rivalries going. It's not from, we have so much respect for you. Hey, the coach and I are friends. No, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
That's what that causes you to. I hate them in sports hatred. I want to see them go down. I want to see them. Well, you need that. And I'm glad that the basketball rivalry between Kansas and Missouri got a huge injection of excitement and everything else. And now I'm like, gosh, wouldn't it be great if Missouri could make the tournament and play Kansas in the NCAA tournament for a rematch? I'd sign up for that. Wouldn't that be fun?
I don't want either team to maybe if it's in like the Final Four national championship, but I don't want somebody's team to fall early in that fashion. We could have had it in Dennis Gates last year, because Mizzou they were similar seeds. It could have worked out that way. But Mizzou's in a tough SEC. That's the crazy thing. The SEC has 5 out of the top 9 teams, and the SECs are really on paper. The Big 12 should be the best basketball conference in the country, and I think over the years it will be with these new additions like Arizona and Houston. But this year, the SEC, people are talking about getting 10, 11 teams in, and I think Mizzou's right in that bubble. So now we start to talk a little basketball. I agree with you, Neil. I think after college football season is over, that's when I start watching. But credit Mizzou. Tamar Bates, Kansas City native. Mark Mitchell, Kansas City native. Both had great games, and Mizzou gets their first upset over a number 1 ranked team since 1997. Neil, you remember that game? That was Corey Tate, I believe, knocking off Kansas. Were you at the Christian? That wasn't a number 1 game, but were you at the Christian Moody game?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
very few of those games I missed. I mean, I was assigned to all of them.
Yeah, the Christian Moody one really stands out to me. Just that storyline, and so we have another addition to an awesome border war rivalry, because how many court stormings were? Because once Mizzou got up and going with mainly Mike Anderson in there for a little bit, Frank Haight, they didn't storm the court as much. I'm trying to think of the last border war.
Well, they didn't beat Kansas a bunch, but in 2012, did they storm the court?
I don't think so, because Mizzou was like the 4th-ranked team in the country that year.
So I was there. I don't think they stormed the court.
I don't either.
Because I did a live shot, and Mike Alden, the athletics director from Mizzou, had said, "I'll go live with you." I said, "I may need, they're going to come to me," and he came to me and he grabbed a player who was going to
Kim English, right? Yeah.
And we got it. So. That was a really, and he's like, Mike's like,
that game was
awesome. How can you, I remember, we've still got on tape back here. He says, how can you walk away from this rivalry? And I'm like, well, they didn't really walk away from it. You're leaving the league, you're leaving the Big 12.
They didn't say they wouldn't play Kansas anymore, though. They still would have done it, and eventually it did.
I think if circumstances had been a little bit different, I think had Missouri given Kansas officials a little bit of a heads up, because they were in business together. Right. They had some special things going with that matchup. It was being sponsored and stuff. And I remember the AD from the University of Kansas, Lou Perkins, said we had no clue, no hint at all.
Which maybe they should have, though. Because after Nebraska, and Colorado,
we knew that they were interested because they were talking about wanting to go to the Big Ten. That was what Missouri wanted, but.
Right. Now, either way, great rivalry. So shout out to all the Mizzou fans that were there, and Bill Self complimented the court storming style is great. All right, before we stick on college, let's mention the Chiefs because, one, they're the defending Super Bowl champs, and Neal Jones has seen all the home games up close and personal this week in Cleveland, though, so Neal gets to sleep in. And not freeze his toes off on the sideline.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that the Browns, and this is sort of what they're pitching up there, is we're a better team at home. The home field means more to the Browns than anybody. They've won 2 of their last 3 games played at their home stadium, whatever it's called now, something Bank Field probably. But so their feeling is that they've talked about it up there in the media. The Chiefs have not been a great team. They kind of let people hang around. So the feeling is if the Browns can avoid turning the football over and play and get after them with the pass rush. They got a really good pass rush. They feel like they have a chance to stay in the game and then at the end of the game have a chance to win the game. So that's their game plan. Their game plan is to hang around and be there at the end and hope they can get it done. They're playing for fun and pride. They're not going to go to the playoffs. They've only got 3 wins on the year.
Right.
But the reality is they have an excellent pass rush, and they understand that the Chiefs' tackles are not very good, and the way to beat the Chiefs is get after the quarterback and disrupt the passing game.
Yep. We have entered the portion of the show that Gabe Swartz was a part of yesterday, and now we get Neal Jones' take. This is the Jameis Winston quote portion of the show. Neal, your reaction to these Jameis Winston quotes. First off, I'm just praying to the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes. That's a pretty good quote. I like that.
I liked all the stuff he said. I thought it was funny.
You can't say the sky's the limit when people are on the moon. That's pretty good.
Pretty good for a Florida State grad.
Represent the names on your back. Represent the names on your helmet. Well, we don't got no decal, so represent the Browns. Good awareness. The Chiefs aren't going up against a decal. All right? It's just it's an orange helmet, and they're the Browns. I don't get that. He does. All right. Then there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Bucks Q's and C's coming out that door. Now, we don't know how to do these rhymes, but we know about pancake blocks and throwing dimes. He's a wordsmith, Neal. I don't want to lose to him. I want Jameis Winston to have success and the Chiefs still win because he's an entertaining guy.
I don't know that I want to go that far. I don't really I don't know much about him. I know that he came out of Florida State with a great deal of fanfare.
Yeah.
And I know that he can make plays. He's proven in his career he can make plays.
Yeah.
He is up and down. He had the 2 pick sixes a couple of weeks ago.
That's why he wants the Lord to deliver him from the pick sixes.
And so he's capable of throwing the other team the football.
Right.
And certainly the Chiefs' defense could use a little bit of that. When's the last time they got a pick?
I know. Well, and Justin Herbert has not thrown an interception since week 2. That is very impressive. I didn't realize that until the broadcast said it. Yeah, but even last year, Neal, the Chiefs did not force turnovers. And they were really good. I understand it more this year because they aren't getting much pressure, and so quarterbacks are able to make better decisions. But that'll be Neal, how about this? If the Chiefs do not force a Jameis Winston interception, do they win this game?
Yeah, I think they can still win the game.
Okay, because he gives him away, and if you don't force it, he can pick you back. He had like 600 yards against the Broncos the other week, and they lost because he threw 2 interceptions. It's
2 pick 6 interceptions.
Right, all the more. Now, I think that's getting pressure and getting takeaways. Like, you can give up the big plays if you get takeaways, but this Chiefs defense continues to bend but don't break. It's a fascinating matchup, Neil, because Winston has such a high ceiling and low floor. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got Myles Garrett on defense. That's the storyline on that side of the ball. We don't know who's going to start at left tackle, Neil. DJ Humphries didn't practice again today. So I don't know if they put Wanya Morris out there who's hurt, or do they start Joe Thuney out there?
I think it's Wanya Morris. I mean, he's the guy that they brought in at the end of the game on Sunday night. So I by all accounts, he played well on that final drive. The reality is
that's a tough matchup.
It is difficult to imagine an NFL team like the Chiefs, a team that does not get after the quarterback from the outside. Their defensive ends have been below standard.
Yeah.
And they've had trouble protecting the quarterback on the outside. Think about that. I mean, that's that territory. That's where the highest you spend your most money on your quarterback. You spend your next most money on pass rushers from the outside and guys who protect on the outside, offensive tackles. That's where you spend your money in the NFL primarily. And the Chiefs don't look very good there, or at least they don't jump out at you. And yet here they are, 12-1.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's credit to Patrick Mahomes. They spent draft capital, a 3rd-round pick, then a 2nd-round pick, but it just hasn't developed this year. I think the thing about Joe Thuney playing left tackle, he's done that, but he's a small part of the reason why he's a guard is because he's a little undersized. And Myles Garrett, Neil, is this freak of nature. Like, I don't know if Joe Thuney would be that much better than Wanya Morris. So that's where I agree with you that I think I put Morris out there.
You got a game plan for that. You've got to put a tight end on that side. You got to have not a back. You need to have Samaje Perine, who can actually block, a really good blocker. Yep. You've got to have somebody in there to protect that side. You've got to roll him to your right and have him get rid of the football faster. There's some things you can do game planning wise, and trust me, we're not saying anything that the experts out there haven't known for 100 years. Sure. That's what they do.
That's why it was discouraging last week to see how much pressure Mahomes was under, because they knew it. They know what they're dealing with, and against the Chargers, they couldn't really adjust. Where it worked best was when they did the hurry-up offense, and I wonder maybe if they do that a little bit more often, if they get the right personnel on the field. But then that's risky, Neil, because if you go 3-and-out in a hurry-up offense, then your defense, which has already struggled at times this year, you might be able to get away with that against the Browns.
Yeah, you add the number of possessions in the football game, and if you do that, if you're hurry up, that means your defense is going to be on the field more, in theory. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying it is difficult for your mind to think, okay, is this team going to win the Super Bowl? Well, you say, well, how are they going to do it? Well, how they've done it all along. Yeah. They execute. Look at the end of games. Yes. They don't miss field goals. They don't turn the football over. Yeah. When it's push come to shove, they get it done. They block a field goal, which is the most improbable way to win a football game that I think is possible. Yep. And that wasn't a 55-yarder where the guy had to drive it low. That was a reasonable kick. Yep. And they found a way to block it. They have found a way to execute when other teams have not, and it's a testament to the head coach, the assistant coaches, and the veterans on this football team that are playing the game right when it counts the most at the end of games.
Yeah, and I mean, last year I think we learned that these regular season games aren't a nail-in-the-coffin predictor of what will happen in the postseason, right? It maybe is not the blueprint. I'm not saying they should, you want to struggle in the regular season then flip the switch. No, you want to, roll in there with confidence. But just because they're struggling at one certain area in the regular season doesn't mean that on that given Sunday that they are just a little bit better. That's the thing about the postseason last year. They weren't that much better than the Bills, Ravens, or 49ers. They were just a little bit better, and that's all that matters. So that's where,
the one thing that was different about last year, I think the biggest difference was their ability defensively to just strangle people. And that was a calculated risk.
They don't have that this year.
To give up L'Jarius Sneed, their best cover guy.
Yep.
And it probably would have been fine had they not had injuries in their secondary.
Watson. Agreed.
And it's put them in a position where they are a little bit undermanned, it appears.
Yeah.
But listen, who would you trust more than Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo
that's what I mean.
to come up with ways, and Dave Tobe, their special teams
And the
coordinator?
guys on the field that kneel in the playoffs. Josh Allen has played a lot of playoff games, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson has played a lot of playoff games, but like in the moment, you have to think that Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, whoever they're going up against is going to be a little bit more nervous than Patrick Mahomes and a little bit more prone to make a mistake than Patrick Mahomes. That's just, until they get over that hump. That's the Tom Brady thing, right?
Well, the thing that I keep coming back to, though, is we all saw what happened to Mahomes when he was surrounded by
right. No, that's
they
a great
couldn't
point.
get it done. And he ran around and he threw dimes, running sideways, diving, and he found a way to hit a guy in the hands, and they drop it.
Yeah,
that was sort of a worst case scenario. It was a perfect storm of bad for the Chiefs. They lost both offensive tackles.
Yeah.
They were unable to and I think we all assumed that Andy Reid would be able to game plan around it, because if anybody's going to game plan around that, it's going to be Andy Reid. But he wasn't able to.
And it was a bad matchup against the Bucs. But that's a good point. That's where it's not a guarantee. I tell you, Neil, based on how these last couple of years have gone, though, I think you're smart to bring that up, because I'm getting in these games, I'm getting a little too confident. Like when they're down, I'm like, yeah, they're going to go and do it, and because they have every 15 times in a row.
And they came 6 inches away from missing the field goal.
Well, yeah, that too.
Then we're looking a lot differently.
Sure.
Now, you have an opportunity this weekend, and on paper, here's how it's going to happen. The Lions are going to beat the Bills in Detroit, and the Chiefs are going to beat a bad Browns team on the road. That's what happens on paper, but as we have seen, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to happen that way.
Yep. So tune in to watch on KCTV5. All right, wrapping up with some college football talk, because, Neil, we've got a couple bowl games for our local teams now set. What do you think of Mizzou getting a decent drive to Nashville, Music City Bowl against Iowa?
I hate that. I'm happy with K-State getting Rutgers, and I think that'll be fun for them.
You don't like Mizzou, Iowa?
I don't. No, I like Iowa. I don't like the game. I think they're a better team. I think they deserve to be in a better game. I think they have been passed over in the SEC just like they were in the Big 12. I don't understand.
Hate the music. You don't like the Music City Bowl, Nashville?
I don't. I would much rather they be in Texas. They recruit in Texas.
Right.
That's the way it works. I'd rather they be in Florida or Texas. They're better trips. They're better for recruiting. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't like them playing an afternoon game. It's like they're lesser. I don't get it.
Well, so the teams that were selected ahead of them, Ole Miss versus Duke and the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. I mean, the Gator Bowl has some history.
It's a Gator Bowl. That's the Gator Bowl.
But Jacksonville,
It's Florida. You recruit Florida. It's the Gator Bowl.
Yeah, then the
LSU, traditional bowl.
LSU
What
gets
time
the
do they
Texas
play the
Bowl.
Gator Bowl? They play at 2 in the afternoon? No, it's a night game.
So Texas Bowl for LSU, you'd rather get the Texas Bowl?
I love the Texas Bowl. That is prime recruiting territory.
Played there before. The Citrus Bowl in Orlando. Mizzou
I love
played
that
there,
too.
South
I
Carolina.
love it. That'd be much better.
I'd like and that's on New Year's Eve. I'd like the Citrus Bowl more. Then the Reliquist Bowl in Tampa. That's what Alabama.
You know what?
got.
That was a different bowl. That just got changed last year.
Yeah.
And Tampa's it's the lesser game in Tampa, but that's another great area to recruit, and it's also easy to fly in down there.
And then A&M gets the Las Vegas Bowl. Some people wanted that.
Yeah. The rumor was that the SEC wanted Oklahoma for the Las Vegas Bowl because it would be a matchup against USC and Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
It's Oklahoma supposedly nixed that. Oklahoma's better off. They're probably going to lose to Navy, but they're playing in Texas, and that's good for. That's just the way it is. It's good. All the workouts will be open.
Yeah.
They'll have all the high school coaches come in. People don't realize how that works. These high school coaches come in. They can bring kids. It's unofficial. They can all watch practice and meet people, and it's the kind of stuff that helps you recruit kids next year and the year after.
You know, Neil, I will give you credit. I think you make a great point. You are right. When I saw the Music City Bowl, I don't know. I think Nashville's I think Mizzou fans like going to Nashville. I think it's a place where the team has had success, and you play in an NFL stadium, like the matchup against Iowa. I was like, oh, okay. But you're right. Some of those bowls, probably would have been better. So
well, I think we knew what happened. And we've seen it happen to Mizzou more times than not.
They get hosed more than they don't get hosed more than Oklahoma. That was the other thing, folks. When I say 2025 schedule, Oklahoma got hosed.
Well, no, it's the same schedule. It's a flip schedule from last year. Everyone knew who you were going to play because it was going to be the opposite of last year. The media is all going crazy, and it's like they said it last year. We're going to play these teams, and then next year you play the same teams, but you get to flip them. So if you played on the road, you'll be at home.
But even the order, Neal, like, is Oklahoma going to win a game after the 5th week?
Well, they weren't supposed to win a game.
That's true. They beat Alabama
this last year, and they beat Alabama.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, if Tulane hadn't lost their last game, Oklahoma would have 2 wins over ranked teams. Yeah. How many did Missouri have?
None.
0.
Yeah.
And that's how you can twist things to make them look. Mizzou, if they've got their quarterback, I think they maybe pull off a victory because he played hurt against Alabama. And I thought Alabama was a winnable game for them. Also, they beat Oklahoma by 35 points if Brady Cook's healthy.
Well, right. Yeah. So either way,